peacefully. I'm still exploring coastal areas all the way up to Astoria and down to Newport, Corvallis, etc., looking for just the right spot. I think I'm okay here for a while longer. I appreciate your help looking and have not given up on Portland. Take care, be well, love, Wayne. And then Mr. Rabbit says, here's Wayne at the easel. And Mr. Rabbit says, he's going through the greens like a madman, painting his hillside. This one might be a little sad, and then we'll end on a happy note. But this is from my journal. On November 27th, Wayne and I had plans to spend Thanksgiving together in 2016, and he had a heart attack about 4 days before that. And his daughter called me to come help. It was about an hour to the coast and just help her with sorting through his things. So this is from my journal. Scattered Wayne's ashes today. Wayne is not a people person, easily annoyed, always kind of rolling his eyes, except that he was more generous than most, and more loyal and steadfast, and strangely buoyant in his own contrary way, his curmudgeonly way. Beachcombing with Wayne, I would pick up every shiny thing I see, every flat skipping stone, every shell, no matter how broken. Wayne might stoop and inspect one or two. He may or may not pocket one he admires. He had a small collection at home. He was selective with shells, with people. Only a few worth keeping in his eyes. Scooping my hand into the black box, it felt sandy but more coarse, gritty, and chalky at once, somewhat sharp, the tiny gravel. I swung my arm, casting his ashes in a wide arc, their weighty spray, part powder that flies like smoke, part stone that drops to sand. Giving thanks and good wishes to Wayne. Here's for your art. Here's to years of friendship. This for your daughters. This for Arizona friends. Here's to your poets, your birds, and here's to your spirit. One of the last pages I got from him, another illustrated page, all kinds of little scenery there, with some birds this time. Greetings from beautiful downtown Rockaway Beach. Has anyone been to Rockaway Beach? Just north of Cannon Beach. Greetings from beautiful downtown Rockaway Beach, a living, breathing, fine example of a tourist trap, probably high on the list of secure places for the Homeland Security Witness Protection Program, and a nice library. Come rain or shine, there's always a stretch of shore that needs exploring. I'm trying to soak up as much of the seaside living because I want to illustrate a small book of Neruda sea poems. I never walk alone on the beach. My new friends think I'm an artist. They're so gullible. And there's a picture of him with two gulls. Spending time painting, playing, so much room for improvement. I watched The Book Thief, a sweet film about a horrific time. Why does it take wars to remind people of their humanity? Hope all is well. Take care, W. Thanks for the neat card. You take a good picture. And then there's a picture of him and the gull, both with their hands behind their back, because that's how he's walked down the beach. And it says, likes long walks at sunset on the beach. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
That was so intimate and wholly unexpected, Michelle. Those were beautiful. Thank you for sharing them with all of us. That was wonderful. Michelle Frost. Next, I would like to introduce Chris Cokinos. He is the author of the natural history book, Hope is the Thing with Feathers, a personal chronicle of vanished birds, which recounts the tales of several extinct North American species. He is also the editor of The Sonoran Desert, a literary guide, an anthology of poetry and creative scientific entries about the flora and fauna of the Southwest. He's been the president of state Audubon councils in Kansas and Utah, and he teaches at U of A. My friend, Chris Cokinos, up from Tucson.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? That's good. Thank you so much, Rosemarie, and thanks to Changing Hands and to the Audubon Society and all the work that it does here and in many places. I'm going to read some poems with birds in them. Amazing, right? I'm going to start with, we're going to travel around a little bit. And I'm going to start in Utah, where I spend part of the year, and where I used to live I lived there for about 10 years before coming to the Sonoran Desert. And I was admitting to Rosemarie, as I do with other people, a continued ambivalence about thorns and cacti and heat. So that may come through. I don't know. So I'm going to start in Utah, and then we're going to go back to Kansas, where I lived for many years before moving west, and where I sort of discovered my environmental activism. And I'll read at least one poem about what it's like to, sort of be an environmental activist. How many people have actually spent time in Kansas? 1, 2, yeah, okay. It's a beautiful, actually I think a beautiful place. 99.9% of Kansas is privately owned. So let's be thankful for the public lands and the stewardship here. So I want to start in Utah, and then I'll take us back east and then back to Arizona. This is at a marsh in northern Utah. To see the way of the world, imagine rivers and the sea at Cutler Marsh. Rails haunt the marsh's edge. Ibis circle. You squint to count the birds, record them, make them data to harbor something safe. You watch shadowed green and lights pointillist water, sun in flares of cloud, gunsight peak, the mountains steeply darken. Think of wolves that stalked old shores, slow becoming into whales. Beyond the nesting ibis, a coyote tests the mud. The Bear River discovers again the marsh, the world's sum of rhythm, light, and change, shifts from elegy to instant, whose first name is grace, whose second is forgetfulness, whose third is black, whose fourth is wings. This is called Fields with Signs, and I think the only thing I need to explain here is I reference something called PM 2.5. So if you've spent any time in northern Utah, Salt Lake City up north in the winter, you see some heavy mists and frost, and it's actually some of the most polluted air in the country. And so where I lived in Utah, active in the Audubon Society, that was actually the first poem about a bird count at Cutler Marsh. In the winter, Logan, Utah actually has some of the worst air in the country. So it's PM 2.5 from cows and cars. Fields with signs. We drive past them, shaking our heads, unsure how to blame or whom. I sure won't shop there, drivers think behind glasses, sipping coffee or tea that steams their windshields. A backhoe's just arrived. At valley fence lines, dry woad and virgin's bower. A red-tailed hawk fluffed perches on a pole. Then sun slices December's particulate haze, dazzles a frost of PM 2.5, thin canyon shafts of light. It is a beautiful morning, regardless of air and exhortations of consequence and pleas for purchase. We watch late fall on cruise, yearning for vacancy, for some ancient vista as far below the endless eke near creeping faults. And everywhere, something other than our meanest selves takes hold. Commutation. These are the things of the morning. Liquid pterodactyl. The sunshine toxic. Our throats made hazy with convenience. Inversions dull the Wasatch like a slow throb, while coyotes edge about the burdock and woad. Sausage by semi, coffee by Boeing, roofs newly shingled glint fractures in a kestrel's eyes. Indicative of transmission. Bars and icons, tones that interrupt, a glance and swerve, the filaments attenuate and starlings perch in strange legations on a derrick's lattice. We've misplaced the seasons like car keys. It's another warm November, and though something like autumn crusts the hills red as scabs, and though resignation is its own unsurprise, I want to think the air lives cleaner in the hollow bones of birds. Timely marrow. Faceted spurs rise higher than signs, and in the cheatgrass median, steam seeps from hot springs, I-15's Little Yellowstone. When Stansbury woke one Sunday morning in 1849, he wrote that the lake with its peaks, ranges, and islands lay before us in great and peculiar beauty. He knew, I suppose, that it is in our nature to often sully what we love, so do we know this better now? Green is not the sear that belongs here, and Dolomite peaks will jag the sky, unreasonably dramatic for just how long. Below, in canyon waters, a dipper plunges in the dark. Water streams around her head, a cirque as silver as a glacier hung above Lake Bonneville. There are other speeds. And home is more than what we choose, though it is that too. Our decisions mobbed for us to breathe, or to let go and let the air be scrubbed with stars. So I'll read just two poems from Kansas. How many of you are activists or work with Audubon, and anybody gone to, regional wildlife commission meetings, policy forums and so forth? It's a different kind of activism, and so this is about meeting a congressman. It's called Threatened and Endangered, and it's about meeting Sam Brownback, who you may know that name, became the governor of Kansas and the model for how to destroy a state government. So it was a surreal experience. So this is called Threatened and Endangered. Now even the sky seems insincere. The sidewalks clean-shaven and splashed with pricey scent. Thanks for coming, the trees say, shaking hands. Really, thanks. Light shone on the congressman's knuckles as we handed him letters and reports. The black-skirted aide, a pellucid smile, put it all in her leather attaché. Their shoes, ambitiously polished, pointed to a door as clear as diploma glass. The meeting over, I walk from the entrance of the second-rate Ramada. The woolen sky pivots. Tomorrow shoulders against me like a lobbyist by the curb. Oh, she says, running late. The representative had nodded. The representative had used words. Perhaps my backyard golden-crowned kinglets will give the world, myself, back again. Or if they don't come to the cedar shelter belt where ragged asters droop. It's dark early these days. It's November. I turn on a dome light in the car, mark a tick in the planner. Can ink gather enough conviction? In a lab somewhere, a man takes off his condor head arm puppet, his shift over, and he goes to get a Coke. Not a happy poem. All right. This is